Welcome back to Andersen Acres. We're in here today with Aquarius, and apparently Gemini's making a mess over there. But we're here with Aquarius and his sister, both blue-eyed whites. She doesn't have a name yet. Her new people haven't picked a name. So we're going to talk about inbreeding today, because last week we talked about line breeding. Now, line breeding is simply, for example, taking Aquarius and breeding him back to his mother, so you're breeding in line, in that line on the pedigree. So line breeding is useful in helping to accentuate the good in your rabbits. Another tool that some breeders use is inbreeding. Now let's be very clear. What is inbreeding? In rabbits, when we say inbreeding, we mean full brother, full sister, you breed them and produce a baby. Also, to be very clear, that's not what I'm doing. They're just here as an example. They're way too young to breed, and he's not breeding with her anyway. But I digress. So, inbreeding in rabbits is specifically taking full siblings, breeding them, and then seeing what the kits are. How those babies look. Are they quality? Are they worth the effort? And there's a lot of stigma attached to inbreeding, and with good cause. Stay here. Stay here, both of you. But with good cause. Inbreeding can cause a lot of problems. I'm not saying it's totally bad, because rabbits actually, they benefit from breeding back to the same genetics. They absolutely do. That is why line breeding is so often used to create good quality rabbits. Inbreeding is a tool that can be used, but is sometimes overused. Hi, sweetie. So, inbreeding is full sibling to full sibling. If you think back to last week's video on line breeding, I talked about how I am not comfortable with a single rabbit showing up more than twice in a rabbit's pedigree. So, if I breed Aquarius back to his mom Gemini, Gemini then appears in the pedigree twice as both the mom and the grandma. Okay? That is the max I will go. I don't like more than that. Some breeders allow 3. They're happy with 3. 3 times that one rabbit appearing in the pedigree, and so they're like, okay, that's fine. Remember that if you're breeding full sibling to full sibling, they have the identical parents. Even if they're not from the same litter, if they have the same mom and the same dad, they have identical parents. So, if they have identical parents, both sides of their pedigree are identical. So now all of a sudden, every single rabbit in the baby's pedigree is showing up twice. And that's my max. And that's the entire group of them turning up twice. That's a lot for me. So I don't love inbreeding. But let's talk about the pros and the cons. So first, let's think about inbreeding as line breeding taken to the extreme. Okay? Because you're breeding full siblings. You can't get closer than that. They have near identical genetics. So what are the pros of that? The pros are you can lock in easily certain genetics. So if I want to lock in their ear carriage, because they actually have excellent ear carriage. Like their ears are not going to stay up no matter what. Because they have excellent ear carriage for Holland Lops. Okay? No matter what I do, their ears are not going to stay up. Unless we tape them. Tape your ears than your regular bunny. But the ears are not going to stay up even at only 8 weeks old, which is where they're at right now. But you can lock in traits like fantastic ear carriage, and maybe you should. The downside of that is you are also locking in the bad. Okay? And because you're basically doubling up on the genetics. So you're taking him plus her, and they're ending up basically just a copy of them. So you're just going to keep copying these guys, just constantly copying them. It becomes very, very difficult, if not impossible, to get the bad things out without a lot of outcrossing and a lot of praying and hoping that it works out. So the benefit of inbreeding I can produce rabbits exactly like them. In fact, if I bred these two together, every single one of their babies would be a blue-eyed white. That's just the way the genetics work. So every single one of them would be blue-eyed white. I would have entire litters of blue-eyed white. The problem is, now, while I love a lot about them, so she's beautiful. She is beautiful. But if I do that, I'm going to start bringing out the genes that I don't necessarily want. Okay? So one of the genes I don't want is she's a little wide in the butt. He's not. But she's a little bit wide in the butt, which is fine. But if we keep inbreeding them and just breed him to her and then breed their children to each other, at some point, the wide butt is a little too wide, and then I kind of lose what was perfect about them to begin with. Come back here, my bunnies. Stay for the camera. So, inbreeding has some of the same downsides as line breeding. It just happens faster because they have identical parents. So then what happens is I end up with a bunch of babies that are carbon copies of them. They're just baby clones, basically. Little clones of them. And you can't necessarily fix what happens. You can't necessarily fix the bad traits that you locked in, which is a real shame because you don't want to lock in those bad traits. You want to accentuate the good and eliminate the bad. But when you breed full siblings, the bad shows up really fast. Okay? So she's got a butt that's just a little bit too wide for my preferences. If I start breeding her to her brother, all the babies are going to end up just like them. So then I'm going to end up with a bunch of wide butts that I don't necessarily want. So you need to be aware of that if you are going to inbreed. If you are going to breed brother to sister, do it only once. I don't like doing it at all, but do it only once. Yes, rabbits have a lot of vigor. They're a very healthy species. They actually are almost designed to inbreed and to line breed themselves. They are incredibly resilient, and generally you don't see much of a loss in vigor. But if you pursue inbreeding, by generation 3 you're going to see a loss in vigor. You can't just breed brother to sister indefinitely. So if you're going to do it, you do it one time. Okay? One time to help lock in what's perfect about them. And then you move on and you breed those children to somebody else. Otherwise, you are going to have a pedigree that is just full of the same rabbits over and over again. And you're not going to be able to breed out the things you didn't want, those undesirable traits. You're not going to be able to get rid of them. The other problem is, now I do not have, as far as I know, any genetic deformities in my fluffle. My rabbits are free and clear. I've never had anything pop up. No one's ever had teeth problems, nothing. Okay? However, it is always possible that your rabbit, no matter how healthy, no matter from how good a line, has a hidden genetic deformity. The gene for that deformity is somewhere in their DNA. If it's in her DNA, there's a good chance it's in his DNA. And when you start crossing them, while they're both carrying that gene, you are going to increase the chance of those genetic deformities popping up. So it's not that inbreeding your rabbits causes genetic deformities. It's that inbreeding your rabbits brings them to center stage and goes, well, here it is. This is what we were hiding. And, well, some people think that's good because then you can reveal any hidden deformities in your lines. It's not. We all of us, humans, rabbits, dogs, cats, it doesn't matter who you are. You have undesirable genes. All of us do. None of us have exactly the genes we wish would be passed on forever and ever. Because even if you think you do, you got something hiding in your genetic code that's just waiting to pop up. So they are just the same as us. They have these hidden things that are waiting to pop up. So if you breed sister to brother, so if I were to breed them, if they have something hiding in their genetic code, it's going to pop up and it's not going to be fun for me. So I don't inbreed. I do not breed brother to sister. I am going to be breeding son to his mother. I am going to be line breeding because he is perfect. As far as we can tell now, he's only 8 weeks old. but he is absolutely perfect, and Gemini is exactly what I want, and I think they are going to produce exactly what I'm after. But obviously, that's not going to happen till next year. However, I will line breed. I am not going to inbreed. I am not taking her and breeding her to him. We're not doing it. If you're going to do it, please be careful. Please be very aware of the flaws of your rabbit. So it's really easy to look at a rabbit and go, oh, you's perfect. Yeah, you's perfect. But every rabbit has a flaw. Okay? Every rabbit. So if you're going to inbreed, if you're going to breed brother to sister, you absolutely need to make absolutely sure that you are looking at your rabbits with an objective eye. You have to go, okay, well, I see what's wrong with him. I see what's wrong with her. If I put her to him and do all this, do this, get their babies, what could I end up with? And is that something I even want? Don't do it just because the male and female you happen to have are brother and sister. That's not a good enough reason. You have to want the traits they exhibit to intensify in their children. If you do not want those traits to intensify, just look for another rabbit. Find another boy to breed to your girl. Okay, it is actually not that difficult. It might take you a little while to find a boy or a girl that fits your breeding program perfectly, but it is better to take the time and find the perfect boy or girl rather than just settle for breeding siblings if you don't want those siblings to breed. Okay, don't settle. Inbreeding is not something you should do without a lot of forethought and without a lot of really evaluating the health and form and shape of your rabbits. You want to be improving the breed, and there's only so much improving the breed you can do if you're just breeding them to each other. So just be aware, make sure that you are taking that into account before you breed siblings. Half siblings do not have that same problem. Okay, rabbits are vigorous, they're healthy creatures, they can handle half siblings being bred to each other. Full siblings can create a problem, and she's leaving. So apparently we're done the video because she's left, and I'm left with just Aquarius. So that is about it for us here today at Andersen Acres. Think long and hard before you inbreed your rabbits. Brother to sister is not always the best idea. We'll see you tomorrow.